Poker machines. Now, you know that I play them. Did it last week, had a great old time. Seagulls at Tweed Heads, Twin Towns at Fat Freddy's, you name it, I loved it. Okay?
Did you win?
Southport Sharks, no, of course I didn't. But it was fun. And in New South Wales you can smoke, but everywhere else you can't. But here's the deal. 95% of people don't play poker machines in Australia, so they either find them to be a complete disgrace or something we could, of course, do without. There's a lot of snobbery around poker machines. Now, don't get me wrong, there's no lobbies that are sponsoring the show. It's just my common sense perspective after spending a summer, like many a summer, where you see normal people and it's a little bit like the greyhounds. So it's really easy pickings to turn around and say we're going to change something when it comes to poker machines. But it's very popular in places like the Channel 9 newspapers where no one in the office has even been to a club or a pub that would have anything near a poker machine. Instead, they turn right and go and have to find the interpretive dance that might be happening at their local one in Newtown. But today, the Labor Party and the Alternative Premier came forward and said, we're going to come up with a system. Wait till I explain this system to you. But here he is saying why it'll be better than a cashless gaming card, where essentially you've got to go like, please, sir, may I have some more? Every time you want to put more down the neck of the Queen of the Nile.
Firstly, the plan will start on the 1st of July 2023 if we're elected on the 25th of March and go for 12 months. The trial will be mandatory in the venues in which it operates. It will be overseen by an independent panel. It will be at least 500 machines, but every machine within that venue will be subject to the cashless gaming trial, and it will, of course, be pubs and clubs. A pub that purchases 20 machines from a neighbouring pub to put in their new venue will have to kill 10 of those machines.
I know, clear as mud, right?
What?
Apparently, no more VIP lounge signs out the front of pubs, and of course you know how ubiquitous those can be around New South Wales. So here's my point. Is problem gambling horrific for the people who get caught in it? Bloody oath. Absolutely. But I don't understand. When we worked out that lead paint was bad, we just banned it. We didn't tax it, we didn't limit it, we didn't find a way to expose people to it. We banned it. But just like when it comes to cigarettes, the single greatest addict is the government. $14 billion when it came to tobacco taxes. That's more than petrol taxes last year, despite the fact the number of smokers has gone down over the past few years. Now, OK, somebody sitting there who's feeding $50,000 worth of $100 notes in is obviously money laundering. Find them, use facial recognition and get rid of them. But telling a person who wants to spend $200 every week of their own money, they have to go and ask somebody essentially for permission, I think is wrong and snobbish. Why do you think I'm wrong, Nicholas?
Well, look, I think it's a good thing that both Liberal and Labor in New South Wales are going into this election promising, further restrictions around the pokies in New South Wales. I mean, New South Wales has 95,000 poker machines, Paula. I really notice it as a Victorian, and we've got a lot of pokies down here in Victoria and in Melbourne. But when I go to New South Wales, I walk into a pub or a club, you really do notice the machines. They seem to be, ubiquitous. So I think the comparable state is Nevada, only jurisdiction in the world that has more poker machines than New South Wales.
Good
of course,
joint.
they've got the Las
Great
Vegas in their state.
Yeah. What a way to win a point.
Point is that
you're mentioning Las Vegas as a negative to me.
There's a strong social and economic case for putting some more restrictions around the pokies, and that will probably lead to better life outcomes, better public health outcomes, and be a good thing for the people in New South Wales.
I'm older than Nick, and I've got a good memory. We might remind Labor-loving Nick that John Cain, the Premier of Victoria, was the man that first allowed poker machines into Victoria, because previous to that, you might not know, Katherine, you're not old enough to remember this, Victorians had to get on a bus and go up over the River Murray to play in New South Wales to put their money in a poker machine. So every poker machine that's in Victoria is down to a Labor government decision by John Cain.
A man who, by the way, didn't they name an arena after?
Yes, the tennis centre.
Yeah, don't you love this? I mean, sort of the back end of his premiership, not amazing, but still you get something named after you if you're a lefty. Again, Katherine, you know how many clubs
hang on, so I'm not here.
Okay, we'll get to it, Nick, but it's like, you know how many clubs rely upon this revenue. But I've got to say, the club industry has done an appalling job of explaining what they do at the best of their things, but I also think they've been lazy as well to pretend that everyone's going to vote for them because there's still, $6 schnitzels. Reality is the schnitzel ain't as popular as it was 10 years ago. But again, I think there's a snobbish element to this debate. What do you think?
Oh, look, I think if we are going to get serious about gambling, Paul, I actually think online gaming apps are more of a problem than pokies. I mean, I know that's more of a federal issue, but we have the biggest uptake of online gaming apps in the world. And if you're going to look at the outcome of gambling on families, marital breakdown, violence, people going under financially, I think we need to look at actually the apps. I think that's more of a problem because you can be anywhere. You can be sitting at the bus stop, riding the bus to work. You can just be sitting at home on the lounge. To go and put money into the pokies, you have to get in the car, you have to go to the...
Well, that's an outstanding point because you've got teenage children who are betting on football matches on their phone.
100%. I mean, Nick, again, I don't mind any model that means you have to walk away from the machine. I've always believed that an ATM should not be in the same building as a poker machine, right? So this idea that you just walk from one bit of the pub to the other, that just means you refuel, right? I understand the logic of you get the card, you go and see someone, you put an extra $500 on it. But when you start turning around and saying how much people can and can't spend, and I get it, for most people, $500 is a lot of money, let alone a lot of money worth just piddling up against the wall. But for some people, that might be what they want to spend. Because they're a tradie, they've gone hard all day, and that's what they want to do on their Fridays. Well, if that's what they want to do on their Fridays, great. If somebody's a crook, find them. If someone's a problem gambler, identify them. But don't tell somebody in a high-vis they can't gamble, which means risk, which means potentially lose.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anyone on this panel tonight, certainly not me, saying no pokies, ban the pokies. But what's being proposed in New South Wales are some new measures that can limit the harm that pokies can do. And for a small but significant group in our community, it does cause a problem, and we do need to address that. It is also the case that multiple investigations have shown a link between poker machines and laundering of money. And so these new gaming cards are about cracking down on the ability to use those machines to launder money. The proposal by Labor today to put load limits on cards just means that if somebody's in a bad spot, they just can't lose all their life savings as quickly as they can in the open slather arrangements that exist there at the moment. So I think these are sort of balanced, practical things. Now, look, I'm certainly not as old as Steve Price, and I may not be as wise either, but
certainly not.
I don't think it was John Cain who introduced poker machines.
Yes,
it might have been Joan Kerner. And now in this 1 hour format that we've got, Paul, we can get to the bottom of these history wars. So I actually think it might have been Joan Kerner, not John Cain, who introduced
so it matters which Labor Premier it was? All right, by the way, also worth noting here...
I mean, it's got to be...
You were still at school, mate. I was reporting on it. I know it was John Cain.